Hi, this is Dr. Sana Hashmi, and this week in my Print Eye on China column, I deliberated on Chinese discourse regarding India's Lok Sabha election. There's a lot of buzz about India's Lok Sabha election on Chinese social media as well as among strategic circle. So it comes as no surprise that China is closely monitoring India's election proceeding, and a lot of other countries are also doing it. But there are a lot of peculiar developments about this discussion in China, particularly. So the heightened attention on the Indian election from China is actually driven by the state of India-China relationship, the deteriorating relations between the two countries over the past year that we have been seeing. So the Modi administration's primary emphasis is on resolving the border dispute, and this approach of the Indian government is does contrast sharply with China's approach of relegating the issue to the background. So China has employed the border dispute and frequent standoff as a tool against India, while simultaneously encouraging India to prioritize other aspects of the bilateral relationship. So from the Chinese side, we haven't really seen any genuine progress on the border dispute or any willingness to resolve the border dispute. So this disparity in approaches is actually, it raises apprehensions in China about the trajectory of future relations between India and China if Modi has to come back to power and under a potentially re-elected Modi administration. So, in fact, if you look at the timing of the signing of the new Chinese ambassador to India, Xu Feihong, and this has happened after a vacancy of 1.5 years, it's very interesting, and it also coincides with the general election in India. Uh, but if you look at the discourse on Chinese media, so this appointment is actually being highlighted in Chinese media as kind of an opportunity for India to improve ties. And also indicating that this appointment, specifically at this particular time, it indicates that China is very interested in engaging India. So this is just a kind of projection of narrative that we have been seeing it specifically in the past couple of months, and this coincides with the Indian election. But when it comes to the discourse and narrative shaping in China, there are a number of diverse ideas, and there are different platforms that we are seeing that are projecting different ideas and arguments about how China is being used and how India-China relationship is being used as a tool in Indian election, as well as the widespread discussion on India's domestic politics. So it's being discussed widely in China on different platforms. So the very hawkish Global Times is what it's trying to do is actively trying to draft a narrative that suggests that anti-China sentiments are being inflamed to garner votes in India. And it's important to note that Global Times is an English media and predominantly caters to international audience. So the Global Times has published several editorial and opinion pieces attributing to the deterioration in India-China relationship to the government rhetoric aimed at securing votes. Then, moreover, it has also criticized the Indian media, much of the Indian media, for allegedly aligning their reporting and their narrative with the Modi administration's China policy. And they also believe, especially Global Times, that this is creating an unfavorable view of China among Indians and in India. So essentially, Global Times is attempting to portray that by using China and the abnormal state of India-China relationship, Prime Minister Modi is trying to win the election. And similar views have been witnessed on platforms such as blogging websites such as Weibo and search engines such as Baidu. So the prevalent argument is that Modi is attempting to bolster his image as a strong leader by taking a firm stance against China, and this is also paying dividends in the elections for Modi. But then, if we talk about the Chinese strategic community, they have diverse ideas about India's elections, ranging from praising Modi as a strong leader and India's economy to infusion of religion into India's political landscape as a tool for BJP. And I think this is a very common argument. This is a very common topic of discussion when it comes to India's election in Western media, but also this is getting a lot of traction in media in countries such as Southeast Asian countries as well as East Asian countries, and China is definitely one of the countries where this topic has been is being discussed widely. So then some scholars have also gone to an extent of saying that rising nationalism in India and the growing xenophobia in India is harming India-China relations. But then if we compare the discourse on social media and the scholarly writings, there's certainly divergence of views there, with scholarly commentary and articles uh, being a little less hawkish, and if I may say, a little more optimistic on the prospects of India-China relations. However, there is no doubt that understanding about India and its elections in China appears to be misconstrued. While the border dispute with China has definitely influenced majority of Indians' perception of China, I do not think that it has yet emerged as a decisive factor, as a significant election issue in India. And to completely resolve differences, I believe that it is imperative for China to rectify its understanding of India and dispel any misconstrued discourse that's happening right now, specifically with respect to the election. And India's expressions of concern are not merely election rhetoric. It's not for the purpose of gaining votes, but the genuine apprehensions that demand acknowledgement and the genuine hearing from China, I think that's definitely missing from the Chinese side. And I think it's very important for China to understand that elections come and go, but the core issue and differences remain. And from India's side, it remains clear that there will be no meaningful progress in the relations until the sovereignty issues are addressed and India's sovereignty, territorial integrity are respected, and India's concerns are genuinely addressed by China. Thank you.